Hey, all you Splinterheads, welcome back. Bronze Dragon here with a replay of Dwayne Cunningham's recent live stream where he invited me aboard. We talked for 2 hours straight, mostly Splinterlands, but we also got into Immortal Creed and a few other things. If this sounds interesting to you, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.
Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Hope you're doing well. As you can see, I'm joined by Bronze Dragon. We're hanging out today. We're talking all things Splinterlands. Well, maybe more than that too. Maybe Immortal Creed. Maybe, I don't know, Golem Overlord or D-Crops. I'm not sure where the conversation will exactly lead us, but it's my first time meeting this man, and I'd love to, with that noted, Dragon, I'd love to hear a little more about kind of what brought you to this space, or how long have you been here? I've been following your channel for it feels like a long while, but at the same time, time kind of stands still. I don't know how long it's been. How long have you been making content, and what brought you to this crypto space?
Well, first of all, what brought me here was basically you. No, I was a long time. I was into mining crypto. Okay,
Oh,
graphic card setups, that kind of thing. And along in that time period, towards the end of that, I started seeing these Web3 games start popping up, and I got into a game on uh, on another blockchain. It's escaping my mind. But then I started seeing your videos,
mm,
okay? And a couple of the other guys like Bulldog and stuff like that were putting out videos. So I got interested in Splinterlands, right? And we're talking about 2.5 to 3 years ago, okay,
mm,
that time. Um, right about the same time that land actually sold out, when land was for sale. Um, in fact, that haunts me to this day because at the time I was trying to build up some cards and I saw land for sale and it was $20 a plot, right? And I was sitting there and I'm like, oh, I'll buy that next week. Because I was buying, I remember I specifically bought an Ulrich Summoner, right?
yeah,
Instead of buying a lot of land. And then the next week it sold out. Land plots were sold out, right?
yeah,
And at the same time, Untamed sold out about that same time period, right?
mm.
And then I ended up buying a plot. Anyway, that's about the same time. Now, I've been doing videos on Splinterlands for a little bit over a year and a couple months, 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I really enjoy your content. The one thing that I've noticed when I listen to you is like, I don't know if this is true, but it does feel as though you come prepared, like with what you're trying to say, and you know the topics you want to get into, and maybe even the order you're going to do that. It feels thoughtfully planned. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Is that accurate?
I do. It is.
Yeah.
In most cases, I think about my topics a day or two ahead of time, and I try to research them. Um, the last thing I want to do is I say things that are wrong. I'm not right all the time, right?
Yeah.
But I like to research things, and I like to get as much right as possible because if I'm going to speculate on something, I like to speculate on facts rather, stuff we've heard from the team,
Yeah.
and not just try to make stuff up. Obviously, when you hear something from the team, and then you have to kind of come up with logical numbers to think about it, sometimes that, but I do like to do my research before covering it.
Hmm. Yeah. There are times where I like to do that. There are times where there are topics where I feel like I need to gather my thoughts around something. Like
Mhm.
today, I saw a video from Silence, and I don't. Do you ever watch Silence, P Silence on YouTube?
I have not watched any videos, but I have seen them pop up on YouTube
Hmm.
thus far.
He seems to also prepare his, what he's saying. And like for instance, today I was watching one of his. It was a recap of a live, and he was talking about different rebellion cards that he thinks are
Mhm.
like people are sleeping on a little bit. And I think that's a fun topic, great topic, and maybe we can touch on that a little later too. We'll get, I know,
Sure.
we'll just go through some of the summoners even or whatever. We'll see where it goes, but
Mhm.
I definitely, I think there's those are things like I thought to myself, you know what? That's a great idea. I want to see if I agree, and then maybe I'll cover it too. But I don't have, and I love to, with those types of videos, I actually love to come prepared because I want
Mhm.
to be thoughtful and not just kind of off the top of my head about where what I would, how I would react to that question. But I
Yeah.
do, I think I probably lean more just like let's go hang out, and you know it'll be a good conversation, and we'll see where that goes.
Mhm. Yeah.
And even with the chat, like I see Paul's in the chat. Thanks for hanging out, Paul. It's great to, I love it when the guys throw questions at me, and you know, it's like I don't always see the angles that you're going to see, and then when you bring up something, even today, hope you know, we'll probably when we're going back and forth, you're going to be saying something, and I'm like, oh, okay, and that's just going to spark some new angle for me, and then maybe I say something, and it's like music, you know, like you're like jamming with people when you have get into a conversation. It's like you bring something and I bring something, and then it kind of, it can be something you didn't expect, which I kind of enjoy.
Yeah. I agree. You know, I have a live stream on Saturday, and sometimes those conversations just get rolling. The more people that come in and with
Yep.
different viewpoints and what
Yep.
everybody's talking about, it's kind of hard to sustain one of those shows just by yourself. But the more people you get in with different opinions
That's right.
and like you said, just looking at things from different angles, you know. So
That's right. So one of the videos that I saw you do recently that we were talking a little bit about before we went live, and I'd love to unpack a little more with you. You were covering on your channel I think it was called, maybe you know, it was about sustainability with respect to land, and can you be grain
mhm,
sustainable? What was the title on that
mhm.
one?
Is sustainability in 2.0 a pipe dream?
Yeah. Yeah, I watched the whole video and I really enjoyed it. And Paul, if you haven't seen it,
Well, thank you.
go check it out. I think, like I said before we went live, I really think it was super well thought out. I thought there was like, I think you speak accurately. Like it's going to be really, and I loved how you expanded on, or you made clear how complicated it rapidly gets as you start getting more and more plots, because then now you're in like a different tier of what that would even mean. Like one plot, you make grain and you feed yourself with grain, and that's sustainable. But then at two plots, it's a different picture. Like it's storage, and it's, you know what I mean. And then you went from there into in deeper complexity, like beyond. And it's exciting to listen to that because I haven't really put my mind to that, and starting to imagine how now I'm gonna have 5, 10 different resources, because there's gonna be 50 different resources. It's pretty exciting stuff. Um, uh, I forget how many. You're a landowner. You said you bought plot back when you got the Alrec. How many plots you got?
Uh, Including the one I just bought 2 or 3 days ago, I have 12. I'm at 12 right now.
Okay, like 12's a pretty big number. You know, I think. Well, I mean, if we looked at the data, I'm pretty sure most people don't have. Well, like definitely most people don't have one. Most accounts, but I mean,
It's been a,
10 feels like a
I
good
was just going
amount.
to say, yeah, sorry for walking on you, but
Okay.
a little while ago, I did a video where I looked at the numbers, and most people have like five or less.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, like five is
or at
like the
least 10 or less. Yeah.
5 is like a rich guy, or 10, you know, especially I think right now people are not taking it seriously. And I think that's true for a lot of different things in Splinterlands, nightmare packs. I think there's some concern that like it's never going to happen with nightmare packs, with land. Even like people will say, I hear it a lot, like it's click and collect, like it's, you know, it's not that much fun or whatever. So there's a lot of dismissiveness toward land, I think, in this moment, where I'm not sure that's going to last forever. Now, that's a speculative sort of bullishness. I can't, you know, prove to you that that'll be so, but I do think it's exciting to think through 50 different resources, the different liquidity pools, the staking of DEC required into that, the interplay between the economy, like, hey, I have grain, but I want like the magical food, whatever it's called, the elemental food, you know, and all of the bartering that's going to happen in there. I think it's going to, I can't see how it doesn't improve the existing tokenomics. I just, unless something about it breaks the game, it's like, to me, it's just it's going to necessarily be better. It's not going to be neutral on the game's impact. It's going to be necessarily positive. Um, I wonder if you agree with that first off before we go any further.
It's hard to say. I definitely think that there's a divide. There are some people that are just for the card game, and some people that are like, I've really leaned towards the land game more. I do still play cards, and I still play my brawls and such, and I have my bot set to play my account, but I'm heavily onto the land. And I do foresee that land will have a good impact on the game.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, there's so many variables at this point in time, and people are so fickle.
Mm-hmm.
People can drop on a dime and just sell out. And if you get a mad rush and people lose faith in the game and such, and then they just start dumping things.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's another way to look at that. As a buyer, if things get cheaper, it's buying season, right? So too many variables.
Yeah.
So let's just say that I'm hopeful. I've always liked the sound of land, the land game. When they first started talking about it, it's gotten many times more complicated than I thought it would ever be. So
look at this. Using Peak Monsters top holders, Knight AV is the 147th account within Splinterlands, like in terms of highest holdings for land plots, and he has 5. So the 148th person has 4. So there's only 147 people who have 5 or more plots in the game. And now it does escalate quite quickly. If you get up into here, look, we're in the 80s, we're at 7, 8s, 9s, 10s start in 60. So it starts by the 60, but I mean, that's a small number, even to think like 62 people have 10 or more plots.
I'll go you one better. Look at the top 10.
Top 10 starting at last one, Van Doggy, I'm going to say. He has 40 plots. So I mean, wow. 40 plots is rarefied air. I'm almost there. I want to squeak into the top 10. Hey, wait a second. I don't see my name here. Oh, you know what? These must be unopened plots because I'm not. Hang on a second. Infidel. Yeah, my name's not appearing and I have 38, but mine are like scanned or whatever. So this must, it doesn't say not scanned, but it must not be because my name's not popping up here. I wonder, let's see.
I don't know what's wrong with it.
Sometimes the different categorizations, right? Like that's probably what it is. It's probably those who have not scanned them. But there's another way to look at it too from Splinter Cards, and I know that shows how many people have. I think it shows how many different accounts hold plots of land. It's in here somewhere. And it's like a surprisingly small number. It's like 5,000 or something. Like have one plot. I mean, it's a very, I would say it's fair to be somewhat skeptical at this moment, because if we're being perfectly all cards on the table honest, like land is not ultimately what it promised to be, what it's intended to be, what the developers want it to be. Like, I mean, that's maybe the most to the point remark. It's not what the developers want it to be. I mean, if it were exactly what they wanted, that we're talking big changes. And so between here and there is like there's a gap, and until we close that gap, I think it's reasonable to be skeptical about kind of where we're leading. But
I know that lately, as things have evolved, in my mind, they've put several things into place that are mechanisms to help prop up DEC and SPS. Various staking, various burns. We're talking about the various costs along the way. And every time more news comes out, it increasingly gets more expensive for a plot of land.
Yeah, and that I would say that's like something I talk about on the channel a lot is the more space there is, or to use the language I just used a moment ago, the wider the gap between where we are and the intended destination, that gap is a space of uncertainty. And that
Mhm.
uncertainty leaves anxiety in the hearts of some investors. And that that potential for not being realized leaves some question mark around the value and the price point. And and as that gap gets closed and we become more and more closely tied to what we expected it to be, what the team wants it to be, maybe it's never going to be finished, but as it gets closer to its fullness, I think you get to a place where you're not doubting it anymore. It's being realized or mostly realized. And in the same way that most people don't talk about Splinterlands just disappearing anymore, some people do. But we've been here for almost 6 years. They've survived 2 bear markets. You know, for the most part, they aren't deeply concerned about that reality. And I think with land, as Land 2.0 comes around, there's 50 different liquidity pools with probably hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of assets put into them to try and realize those LP rewards. I think we're going to start to get to a place where it's more and more, nothing's ever certain, but people get more and more confident as that gap closes. And that's where prices start to tick up. But that's the
Yeah.
beauty of being, if you believe, if you see that reality, like if you think that reality is going to be realized and you believe that before other people, and you do so hopefully logically, that's the opportunity. That's where maximum sort of opportunity comes from, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to step in and say that basically my same point.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this is all a gamble, right? Ultimately, this is all a gamble. Okay, so the value of cards, the value of land, and what it comes down to is us trusting the team with basically the money we've invested for a game. Enjoy the game to play or whatever, and also, as the other game, the land game develops, we're trusting that they're going to build it out like they said it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're exactly right. I was thinking in my mind as you were discussing, the investment point occurs. The best investment point occurs before it takes off. Okay, so once it starts to take off and start to go gangbusters, are you going to be able to find that $35 plot of land? I would argue no. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm probably the last guy on YouTube you will see that's I'm not a wagon jumper and I'm very, I don't know, some people would call me a pessimist. But ultimately, I mean, if you don't feel like playing the game, just don't play the game. You got to
That's
invest,
right.
you got to go some way, right? So,
That's right. Yeah, it's like you make your bed and then you lie in it. You either believe in it, and hopefully you do so logically. It's not just like a impulse. Hey, this might work out. That's not usually wise. But if you enjoy the process, and this is gathering the magic. Often I forget how he says it, but I love how he says it. It's like just enjoy the process and keep on stacking or whatever. And it's like if that's where you're at, like if you actually just enjoy the rank experience, same with Immortal Creed, if you just enjoy the battle experience, is it deeply financially rewarding to receive 200 valor a day? Not really. I mean, you could sell that pack for buck 30. Not a big deal, to be honest. But maybe you're just like me and you enjoy the process. Same with Golem Overlord, same with Decrop, same with whatever you're into. Um, is it going to change your life overnight? That's not really the point always. It's like first and foremost, is it fun?
well, a certain amount of this money can be the way I look at it is it can be attributed towards entertainment, and then the rest of it is investment of some sort, right? So that you hope pays off going forward. I'm a firm believer, and I talk about it all the time, is not overextending yourself.
Mm,
Know your budget, stay within your budget, and it's the same with anything else. Any hobby, you can buy really expensive stuff in any hobby. You just
yeah.
got to know your budget and stick with it. And then at the end of the day, if you had some fun, good. And if you didn't overextend yourself, then you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, if you had that's a great attitude because, there's an interesting thing happening with blockchain gaming that is new. And this is 5, 6 years old. Like it's never happened in history before where a game actually gives you this like financial opportunity. And I say opportunity because it's not a promise. There is like theoretically a reward at the end. Like you're getting these NFTs, they're yours to own. You can rent them in some games. There's a resale possibility. You're earning cryptocurrency through the process of playing the game. Whatever the scenario is, Splinterlands we know, but like there's others that are going to replicate or copy. And you think like, oh yeah, like I mean, I might really believe SPS is going to be $1. I actually do believe that, but I mean, that's like one conversation. That wouldn't be, if that was like the sole conversation, I really wouldn't be. To me, the joy of this is that it's two pieces. It's fun and it's rewarding. And when you bring them together, that's so much more powerful than just, hey, this is cool and you might get a 10x on your value, or hey, this is fun. Like, I mean, individually, I will play things that are just fun, and simultaneously I'll buy crypto that's an investment. But here it's like I actually get to play and receive those rewards, and it might turn into something really meaningful. It might not.
Yeah, and I'll stop right there on that point, and I'll say that I think that's also the fence that we need to overcome for Splinterlands to get bigger. Okay, and the fence I'm talking about is the fact that right now the vast majority of people that play Splinterlands are just people that are into crypto and investing in crypto. Okay. That next big step, which I think they are taking with moon carts, is bridging that divide to the Web 2 popularity. People that just play regular games. In other words, what I'm saying is make the game really good so people will just want to play it as a card game, and then advertise it correctly and get it on mobile. I can't emphasize that enough. A lot of people poo-poo me, but if you look at the numbers, the mobile gaming worldwide it dwarfs PC gamers, and it dwarfs even console gaming.
Yeah.
Because think about how many people have a phone or a tablet in their hand, right?
Yeah. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. The convenience of that. It sounds like from the last GLX live that the intentionality is to make certain that that Moon Carts is going to have that available to it. Hopefully.
It is. They've said it's going to be live. When it goes live, they're going to have iOS and Android functionality.
Cool. Love it. There was something I wanted to, we've kind of moved on, but I quickly want to just point out, I found on Splinter Cards, the land quantities, Vugdis with 4,500 plots.
Yeah, he's big time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some big players in here with over 3,000. I don't even know. Blockchain FF, I actually don't know if that's like, it must be, I guess, like a person, but I don't really know.
Yeah.
Master Sorcerer, Cryptomancer with almost 3,000. Bribro he has over 2,000. Wow. Yeah. Bribro won. He won the first Splinterlands tournament at the Splinterfest event. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Oh, a while back, I did a video just concentrating on this. I forget the name of it, but it's something along the lines of who holds all the land in Splinterlands, and it's specifically looking at this list. So it's been a month or so since I've looked at it, though.
This to me, land, I don't want to. I think we already said this, but as I look at what this could represent for these people, or 2,900 or 1,800 plots, like to me, I think of like, this is a crazy amount of revenue generating opportunity within this game. Again, it's potential. It's not realized in any real substantial way. Like, there's a huge setup cost too, by the way. Like it's like running a business. It's literally, because each of 1,000 plots right now is like, I think there was one that came on sale for $100,000 the other day.
Yeah.
So
it's huge.
So you're talking $250,000 locked up in the land. And then, by the way, if you're running even a fraction of that, the DEC commitment that is staked into it, the power cores that are bought for it, the cards that are placed upon it, it's a crazy business cost. But theoretically, if this game does what we think it might, this is like This is a crazy, like they're so far and above. Like, I mean, look, you said earlier, look at the top 10. Top 10 is like all
Yeah.
they've all got over 1,000. And
Yep.
we have to scroll down into the 47th. But I mean, okay, so as exciting as it is to say 50 people have 1,000 plots, I mean, it drops off rapidly thereafter, first of all. Second of all,
Mhm.
you know, 100 people having, you know, okay, hang on, let's get, how far do we got to go to get under 100? Okay, we got to go right there to 300 people have less, that have more than 100 plots. That's a small community of people who are deeply invested, which is a good thing to
Mhm.
me, because it tells me, if you have like, if you had 5 to 10,000 people with that many plots, that's in my mind too much liquidity for especially for our space, but really for like any, really even like, it just, I think that would be really an impediment to the future, you know, short-term profitability. But it looks to me like this is a scarcity that I just think is going to shine as the tool becomes more and more online. But again, speculation. We'll see in 6 months. Let's check back with that conversation. You know what I mean?
I think with that amount of people that have that many land plots, obviously towards the top end, you've got people that are just buying those land plots just for future value.
Yes.
And even if they brought on like 20% of their lands, there's still going to be a huge amount of lands that maybe just sitting fallow.
Mhm.
So in the back of my mind, I'm wondering how this affects the economy. Okay, so the game development crew came up with these 30 different buildings and 50 different resources, and it was kind of designed so that a good portion of the land was up and running and doing something. What happens if we have just a large portion of this land, this continent, sitting fallow, people holding it for future value?
Mhm.
Just another question that pops in my
Yeah,
mind.
that's a great question. Um, I think that's where we're at. First of all, I agree. I think you're right. That's where we're at. Like those, we have something like 20% of the plots of land have been activated thus far, and they're not fully activated. So they're in like different states of activation. Um, you know, it's gonna take I would think it's gonna take years to get into the 50% range. Um, and even then, you're still talking 75,000 plots of land not activated, theoretically sitting on the sidelines for the sole purpose of being resold. So, in the same way that we've talked about, I think SPS and it, I don't know, we haven't talked about it, but I mean, like the community has talked about SPS will have an opportunity for price appreciation after it's no longer minted. I would say the question around SPS price appreciation is actually more about not when it stops being minted, but when it stops being held by the people who bought it strictly for an investment. Because
Yeah.
there are people who have filled their bags with SPS specifically waiting for a new moon mission that they can sell into. And I would say you're right. That's the same type of person that might, not all of those people that we just showed on that landowner list, but some of them definitely did that. They bought those plots of land to sit on them and sell them when the price goes high, right?
That's fine. I mean, that's part of the quote unquote land game, right?
Yes.
So
It
I'm
definitely,
just in the back of my mind, it's just making me wonder how that's going to affect. I'm just kind of looking forward towards when 2.0 hits and all these liquidity pools are online.
mhm.
And the whole goal is to buy, sell, trade, whatever you're making, and ultimately make the cards, right?
Yep.
And how a certain amount of this land that's just sitting there doing nothing is going to ultimately, I believe, boost prices everywhere
Yeah.
else. Hopefully,
Yeah.
So
And then I think you see a bit of we can probably anticipate a little bit of a, how do I say this? What you're describing is, so we just said 20% of the plots are active. That, let's imagine it stays roughly there, and then land 2.0 comes, and there's all these new resources that can be earned to make different important things, items and spells for one. And those are meaningful in the battle mechanic of the game. So then the people who are running those 20% active plots have 100% of the revenue streams possible for land, because the other 80 are sleeping. And I would argue that I think it's reasonable to surmise that the productivity that can come out of 20% of the plots will be gobbled up by 100% of our community, and that'll drive those assets will become quite expensive. I would think the productivity of land will become more expensive in that moment, is what I'm saying, and that ought to drive more activation of plots, because it's like right now the profitability of land is only SPS. I've seen several YouTubers cover this. They look at SPS and they're like, look, how many SPS can I get from farming my land? Why don't I just buy SPS? Is the conclusion that a lot of people reach. And I don't really think that's a fair comparison, but I'm saying that's how people look at it. It's like the dollars and cents of me turning on this plot of land, me buying this plot of land, me putting the DC and the monsters on the land. And I think that equation changes dramatically when it's not just 3 cent SPS, but now it's items and spells that can help me win this game in a different way. And if I'm right about that, about the returns from those plots of land will grow in that moment, then I think you necessarily expect more plots of land to activate, because hey, wait a second, those are actually pretty meaningful rewards. I want those too. Now maybe that brings it to 25% or 30, I don't know, but I would expect that to happen as the returns from the activation grow.
Well, we know as a mindset, it's a mentality, and we've all talked about this before. The mentality of buying when it's low. People don't want to buy when it's low, but when they see it coming up,
Yeah,
they want to buy. The same thing. When profitability is low, they don't want to get in on it. But when they see the profitability going up, but as the profitability is going up, costs are going up as well
that's right.
too.
That's
So
right. Let's check in with the chat here. I see some conversation from Paul. Okay, so he watched your video there that we talked about. The cost for these land plots seems staggering. Yeah, for the thousands, especially, man, like we said, it's about 100 grand for. No, I think it was $108,000 was the list price for that region. And some of those guys had what? Did we say Voog just had 4.5 regions? Is that what it was? I think
yep.
four. So wow. Even if you said, 108,000 is the price for one, but if you wanted to list, if you tried to sell 4, you'd have to go lower than that. I mean, we're over $250,000 for fictional NFT land.
Yep.
Paul went on to say, I'll be real interested to see how much building levels is going to cost.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true too. Did you talk about that recently?
I talked about it, and obviously we don't have any hard numbers on it, but they seem to like the idea of 10,000, 10,000 DEC for things. But is it linear? Is it going to be like, I think a fair place to start extrapolating is 10,000 for a level 1 building. But they also noted that there's going to be materials too. So not only do you have to pay DEC, but you also have to pay some materials like wood and iron or something like that. And then it just keeps going up per level.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that's going to be linear and say it's going to be 10,000 per level, or is it going to be 10,000 for the first level, 20,000 for the second level, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then that touches on the maintenance, because as soon as you figure out how high your building is, you're going to have maintenance to pay on a monthly basis, which is a percentage, which they quote unquote call a small percentage. So in my video, I theorized 5%, because to me that's a small percentage, but it could be 10%, who knows? But the root of what my point was is that the prices just keep adding on, basically.
Yeah.
So, and if you're playing this, and it's basically a business simulator, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a business simulator. And how does business work? You have to pass along the costs to your customer.
Yes.
Whatever you pay, if I'm paying more and you're buying food off of me, then you're going to have to pay what I had to pay.
That's right.
Plus a percentage.
That's right. So. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And it's interesting that it's a business simulator, and yet it actually is a business. Because you're right. Like, it's like a video game business simulator. But at the same time, it's like generating real world value and
Yeah.
potential. It's really,
The
it's
the
exciting.
argument there is, I guess your argument is true. I mean, it's not just a simulator. I
Yeah.
mean, if you can take, I live in the U.S., so if you can take USD out of the game and make a money, make a profit, then
Yeah.
you're running a business,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to turn around and pay taxes.
It's going to be such a weird next 10 years for us, I think, in this space, like people who are going to watch this video and me and you as owners in this thing. 10 plots of land is still 12 is still a lot of land. 38 for me is a lot of land. Um, and, and, and even the card readers we have and the earning potential we get from the game and the staking APR from our SPS, if some of these sort of targets, and imagine, the bullish targets that we set as a community, are started to halfway be realized, I think we start having some pretty fun conversations with our tax people and being like, yeah, I made 20 grand this year playing a video game. You know what I mean? Let's say, okay, so I make about 2,500 SPS a month. So that's 30,000 SPS a year, assuming it's carries that easily. It's a little more complicated, obviously, but if you imagine 2,500 a month, 30,000 a year, at 3 cents, what is that? 30,000 times 0.03, $900. Not worth, talking about. But when we start to add a zero to that, or, maybe it's $1. It's like now we're having conversations with the tax man and we're putting that in our bank. And,
Yeah.
I think it's possible, but I wanted to show this arena. This is the guilds. The guild buildings could be a basis for starting to imagine what the team might do.
Yeah.
But also, it's probably fair to say, grain of salt on the argument, this is not linear, first of all. But also, I would think that this stuff was done a long time ago. And they've talked about how guilds need an upgrade, an update, and new buildings. I bet they wouldn't have done it the same way today that they did then. So I wonder, you could argue they might try something like this, but you might also say, that was a long time ago when they implemented this stuff. Maybe it'll be radically different. I don't know the answer to it, but yeah, it's going to be a sink of some kind, isn't it? It's going to be pretty substantial, I bet.
Well, I wanted to bring that up in my video because, and I'm not trying to beat a topic to death, but my whole goal, and it's always been this way since we started talking about 1.5 and preparing for 1.5, I did a ton of videos trying to prepare people and show them what all is going to be involved. So the whole goal is to be prepared. And these are costs that you're going to have to be ready for. So if you have time to get ready for them, you have time to make a choice. And that choice is at this point, do I buy more land? Do I put that money away and prepare for, the buildings and what I want to do instead of wait until it happens? That's just my personality. I like to prepare for things.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen tons of people out there that waited until the last minute. I was buying cards to put on my land for months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching, just on a side topic, I was watching gold foil Chaos Legions just at this point, like more than double, right? So, I don't like waiting until the last minute.
Yeah, no, and that's the game within the game. If you can see those angles before other people, that's where, like, if you bought those gold foils, the valuation go crazy, like on your total card collection, and you put them to work in this way that then now your land is multiplying in a bigger way. What you could do. Look at this comment from Paul. 1,464 accounts with 5 plots seems like an encouraging number. I agree. And then Vugdis is an SPS vacuum with his land and the amount of SPS he already owns. I think he has 10 million SPS, or at least he did when I looked at him last time. I'm going to check him out.
So huge.
SPS rich list. So there's different ways to look at this. Total SPS, staked SPS, SPS. I'm going to go total SPS. He's the first one that's not like look at this: SPS DAO, Splinterlands Hive, Splinterlands Cold Storage, Null, Terra Block, Splinterlands, and then there's Vugdis.
And then there's Vugdis. Yeah.
Dude, he has 17.5 million. Last time I checked, he had 10 million.
Have you ever talked to him?
No, never. I don't know. And no, I would love to though. Hey. It'd be really
That would
cool.
be an interesting discussion.
Crypto Eater I've talked to before. Great guy. 10, 12, 12.3. Um, Brave Tofu. I'm pretty sure Brave Tofu bought my. I always forget this. I'm pretty sure he bought my kitty, my Byzantine kitty.
Mm.
Um, there's Blockchain FF again. He was one of the big holders of unopened plots of land.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, land is definitely very exciting. I am pumped about it. Paul says, I'm a dustbuster, but a staunch member of the Accumulation Nation. Absolutely. We all need to be little dustbusters and vacuum up. Yeah. We got to look through the couch cushions to get a few more SPS here and there. Dragon, where
I
you?
have a fair share. I don't have a huge amount of SPS. I have enough to play well and get my rewards in gold. In fact, uh, what I've staked has tripled since the SPS staking went live. And I bought it specifically, and it's really went up since land went live because I have a fair amount of SPS coming in for my size plots, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just rolling that in. However, I do use SPS and DEC frequently to keep that action going. I rarely sell off SPS.
Mm-hmm. I sold off about 40,000 SPS when we were at around 4 cents. So
Yeah.
I already miss it, but what was that? 40,000 times 0.04. It might have been 0.38. But I put that towards Rift Watchers. Not Rift Watchers, Rebellion. And that was a good play because my Rebellion has since gone up. You know, I put $2,500 into my Rebellion and it's gone up. Like, not, it hasn't been huge, like a 10% buff on that, but some of those cards, those in particular, like a couple of them have gotten more expensive. So I'm glad I got them when I got them.
Yeah.
There was something I wanted to say about SPS. Oh, you mentioned you're playing in gold, and I'd love to. Are you a modern player or a wild player?
I'm a wild player because Archmage plays my
That's right.
both my accounts.
That's
I
right.
have one account that plays in silver, one account that plays in gold.
What are you earning on a right now? Can you look at your battle screen and see what you won last time you played? Last time
Yeah, give
Archmage
me.
played? What's it going for? How many SPS you getting down there?
And as soon as I redid my browser, I've got to let it play through here. I'll look here in a minute.
Yeah, same here. I'm watching one of my battles. This is my most recent win. It'd be from earlier today, and yeah, I'm using Wild too because I can't keep up with everything, man. We talked about this before we went live. There is too many things to attend to right now in blockchain
Yeah.
and life. I can't do it all. And so even though I would love to play modern, I just can't right now. You know, between tournaments and other crypto games and content creation, it's just too much. And so yeah, I'm letting Xbox go ahead and play for me in the wild, and it's doing great. It's like, you know, I'm consistently in champion. I'll consistently be champ one. I'm not fighting for the leaderboard. I'm nowhere near, like several hundred points out of leaderboard. But well, that's not true actually. I'm like 50, 60 points out of leaderboard last time I checked, but just scraping the bottom that would be. And
Yeah.
I'm usually earning, we'll see in a moment what I got on this one, but I'm usually earning, 3 SPS per win.
Yeah.
And
Well, in gold, I can tell you, I'm in gold one. In fact, I artificially limit it so it doesn't go ahead and play into diamond, but it's 0.57.
mm,
So that's what I won on the um, last win. So, and that's no streak. So,
well, I mean, not it's not nothing, but man, I know I was listening to Aftersound talk about it today, and he plays in Wild in the Modern League, and he was on a bit of a win streak, but he had 8, 9, 10 SPS per win in gold. That's a
yeah,
giant. We're talking 20 times the SPS you're earning, and it's the same league. And
yeah,
arguably, he probably has to have a less expensive deck than you do, because you probably being in Wild have access, like you said, you have that Alrec and you have other cards that you've acquired from that are alpha, beta, promo that are older. I assume, right? Do you?
yeah. I do, but they're not in any way maxed out.
Hmm.
I have I have some beta stuff, but not a whole lot.
Is your account name Bronze Dragon?
It is, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look you up here. So, okay, so you got, I mean, you got that silver level Alric, which I'm sure is, still competitive, and like it has its niche moments for even a gold performance probably.
Yeah, I threw it in there, and the bot will play it once in a while in certain rule sets, and it comes in handy. And frankly, I would love to have it at 6, but I just didn't want to put the money into it.
And you've got a strong Chaos Legion summoner
Hmm.
team. Do you have the legendaries?
I've
Yeah,
got some, yeah.
you got Yasik.
As far as summoners, no, that's the weak point of my deck.
Okay.
I don't have a whole lot of the legendaries as
Yeah,
far as at the proper level.
the one that I find, like, I mean, Immortalis just wins. Well, I can show you data
Hmm.
quickly. Maybe you've already seen this stuff, but I would encourage. I really enjoy this. Let's see the summoners. We go green. Immortalis. No, let's go like this. This is my summoner data, and number 2, Lily Shieldpaw. Such an absolute necessary card. 2, so good, so good. Like not as good as Kitty, but man, almost a 600 win record across 700, almost 700 games. And then Immortalis, a strong number 3. Kelia, I actually, Kelia works in a lot of situations, but I mean that win rate is not anything comparable to these two. Lily and Immortalis and Quicks to me are the 3 like and Thaddeus Brood are the 4 must-haves from Chaos Legion,
Yeah.
and they're still so cheap.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, I've been in this position where everybody's in this position, right? But there's so much you can spend your money on
Mm-hmm.
that you have to make your decision.
That's right.
And lately, and by lately I mean the last year, my concern has been staking out land. So my primary money has been going towards land, the cards going on land, the DEC going on land, the totems going on land, etc.,
Yeah,
and not so much my actual play deck. So
I see. You've got a good number of legendaries over here. You got like this is this is you. You got the reward. You got Bilkas. You got some Oshanises, some Harklaws. Buying up those cheap like dollar
those were
legendaries.
specifically bought for putting on land.
Mm.
My strategy has changed, but because I have gold foils on all my lands now, but they're still in place for if I need them for land, I'll have them there. So
Have you hit in your time here? Did you say it's been 1 year? 1 year content creation. Has it been how long for Splinterlands?
it's been over 2.5 years. Yeah.
In that time, has there been any real like substantial win that you've experienced? Something that like was like you bought that card, you saw that angle, you got some sort of, you know, financial opportunity that actually got realized out of it, or not yet?
No, I think that's a joke between me and my brother because my brother also plays. I got him into it, and I think the joke is we don't sell anything.
Yeah.
It's like we want to keep it and we want to play with it and use it on land or whatever, and I just very rarely sell anything. Um, in the past, I have bought and sold things specifically to make different trades happen and things like that, but I've never realized a big profit. Now, obviously, when we were back during the bull run, all our card sets were going up in value, right? And that was a great thing. But we're in a different place now. But I still fully see, because I've played Magic the Gathering in the past, the value of just the card game in and of itself, and having the cards, especially as hopefully the game catches on and we catch a larger audience with the other things we were talking about, the price of the cards goes up,
Mhm.
especially after this burn event. I mean, if you want some cheap Chaos Legion cards, you better get them now, because after the burn event, a lot of them going to be gone. So
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Yeah, it's uh yeah, I 100% agree. I saw 2 great comments from the chat, and first of all, Jim, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping by. I want to answer Paul's comment here. And I'd love to hear your thoughts too, Dragon. Let me get a little frame here. There's so much, there's so much more I want to talk about with respect to cards, but I'm excited by this question. Mooncart, you used a phrase on your channel that I thought, I forget how you said it, and maybe you can help me remember. You talked about Arcade Colony as a service, and you talked
It's a
about
platform as a service.
platform as a service. So
It's a PaaS. Yeah.
help unpack what that means. And I've never thought about it that way. Help me unpack what that means.
Okay, that's kind of, I guess, an IT type terminology. Okay, so these different as a service things have come on board with the advent of cloud computing, really.
Okay.
And a platform of it as a service in this particular instance is Splinterlands, the company, or Steam Monsters, has developed this platform stack, which enables a company that has a Web 2 game or has a Web 2 game laid out in R&D and is going to make it able to be converted to a Web 3 game, which takes, and I'm sure there's a lot more to it, as I'm a novice to this, but if you're a company and you have a Web 2 game, Dwayne's Puddle Jumper 1000, you're like, hey, I got this great game. It's Web 2. I want to make it Web 3. You can go to the Arcade Colony and talk to them and get your game put on their platform and put into a Web 3 and connected to the blockchain and all that entails. And then the company, Arcade Colony, and the whole company as a whole makes money because you obviously have to pay them on a monthly basis to use their service.
Yep. Yeah, it's exciting. It's like a new revenue stream for a company, our company, and we're creating an answer to a problem that, because I do think it's a problem for games, traditional games, to Web 2.0 to not have access to sort of the tokenomic side. As the world becomes more and more confident and comfortable with the idea that they can and maybe even should earn reward for their time and attention. Like we've seen it already with Brave Browser, and I think, do you use Brave Browser?
I've used it since I started playing Splinterlands, really.
So I think I don't know if this is true in the general world, but I think it's grown in a significant way in terms of its, the audience that uses it. I don't know that to be true, but I guess I think there's more and more evidence that, and we already see this in the normal world. Like you see it at your favorite grocery store gives you points, your favorite gas station gives you points, the movie theater gives you points. Everywhere does this because they know they want to actually incentivize you to come back. So they're happy to give you points that lead to some sort of minimal discount on their future services, because it's like the same reason Costco sells a hot dog for $1 or whatever it is. They want to get you in the door again. They're happy for you to come back and, hey, I've got 10,000 points. Can I get $1 off my $100 worth of gas? And while I'm here, by the way, I'll probably buy a bag of chips, a coffee, you know what I mean? And so it's obviously something we already do. We already chase after. And I think the real hurdle isn't, do people believe point systems are worthwhile? The real system, to me, the hurdle is more like a doubt or a questioning of what blockchain is. But I think as that there begins a bit more a growth of confidence, and even the Bitcoin ETF, for all that it apparently didn't do for the price, because it's kind of a nothing burger with respect to price. I would say that things like that drive more and more confidence that things like Bitcoin are just another financial instrument. And I would argue that that's helping pull down some barriers with respect to Web3 gaming. And hopefully we get to a place where it's literally all of them. All games just give you this, like Call of Duty, Blizzard, all Blizzard Entertainment, etc. It's like, why not? You already got me from I love the entertainment. Now think about coming to something like Splinterlands with this platform capacity, this ability to, just onboard, to give that that capability to convert traditional Web 2 games right into that Web 3 experience. You're gonna take down that barrier for them. They've got that doubt, or that, not that doubt. They've got that they don't know how to do it. They've got that technological gap, and then you come in and just do it for them. Oh, of course, this is going to be
I do think on that point, just to stop you there, I think that's one of the hurdles that we have to get over. We have to make it easier.
Yep.
Obviously, the problems with getting into a Web3 game stop a lot of people from getting in. But those problems, quote unquote problems, are put there for various financial reasons, law reasons, as far as dealing with all the different cryptocurrencies and things of that nature. But I think one of the major hurdles is making it easier to get your average Joe who doesn't know a whole lot about crypto, but is willing to play a fun car racing game or a fun card game or what have you, because there are people that blow millions and millions of dollars on games that really they don't give you anything back.
Yeah.
So if you go on, insert your favorite game, big time game, non crypto game, and you buy skins, you buy guns, whatever else you're going to buy in the game, those reside in the game. You stop playing the game, there's nothing you can take out of the game.
Yep.
If I were to stop playing Splinterlands, which I'm not saying I am, but if I were, I could convert that all back to USD, right?
Yep.
And take it out.
Yep.
So, but I think one other point I wanted to bring up is I was watching a video from KGM Jams the other day, and he put it well. He says, I don't even play regular games anymore. Once I started playing Web3 games, I never wanted to go back, because why would I want to play a game and not get anything out of it?
Yep. And that's the thing. And I do believe that more and more people are going to feel that way. I think that's why I refer to Web3 gaming, NFT blockchain based video games, as a revolution. I think people have long thought video games are an amazing form of entertainment. It's been since we've been, I think, Dragon, since we were probably kids, this has been a space that we've watched grow. Like my first system was Nintendo, original Nintendo. But I mean, there was Atari before that and whatnot. But generally speaking, I really witnessed the launch of what became an entertainment revolution, which was video games instead of, books, or video games instead of movies even. And now that's not even a battle anymore. Like, video games beat movies, period. And so I mean, this is the world we live in. And then you come and say, like, you can reward that same thing I talked about. I'm not going to say it again, but it's like, you can also give me the rewarding side while giving me the fun side. I'm going to attend to that game way more. And I have 6 years or 5 years, Splinterlands, man, almost every day. And so
it's just the evolution of games, right? So I'm a little bit older than you. I started with Atari, right? And Pong before that. But we've been alive through the evolution of games. And to me, that's been amazing, because I've always been a geek, right? I've always been into games. I couldn't afford a computer when I was younger. I had an Atari when I was a kid. But this whole evolution, and at certain peaks and points during history, we take amazing leaps ahead. History will go forward at a slow pace, and development of computers and the games follow. Generally speaking, in the early days, the games followed what kind of hardware was available. And then as something new hardware came on the scene, then they could actually make that next better game. And we're in a position where it's a leap ahead, but in a different manner, right? It's the Web3 part of it, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on a similar note, the growth of the gaming experience will become more and more complex, sophisticated, enjoyable, beautiful. Like, in the same way, when we look at old Super Mario from normal Nintendo, the NES system, it's still a great game. It's one of the best platformer games, like, of all time, probably. It's an excellent game even today. But is it stunning? Is it, there's things like, oh man, there's so many new versions of that bring something fresh an amazing new look, great new levels. Um, and that's, I think we're witnessing the beginning of like a whole new technological moment, and I'm excited for it. And on that, to bring it back to Colony, I don't know how to express my excitement for it, because I think you share this a bit. I think you even maybe said you are maybe more excited about the potential of Arcade Colony than you are of Splinterlands. Not saying you aren't excited for or hopeful for Splinterlands, but you have. Is that true? Is that a sentiment that you hold?
Think after working in the IT sector and working with other platform as a service type companies in the past, I think the upside of Arcade Colony, as far as the potential, is higher than just Splinterlands,
Mm,
because the upside is more than just one game. Splinterlands is one game. This could potentially host 100, 200 different games. Okay. It could be the Steam of Hive Engine.
yeah.
And it may be able to, they may have the technology to bridge onto other blockchains as well. So that's where my excitement comes from.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to get excited.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, this is something special, man. I'm looking at the white paper, Arcade Colony white paper right now, and I haven't fully read this, to be honest. But as we're talking, I'm noticing the fork component, because
Mhm.
I was previously wondering or thinking that, and somebody called me on this on a recent live. They said um, the GLX is being forked, and that's what this is saying. The fork, there's going to
Mhm.
be a fork. The fork will reward
Mhm.
accounts with which stake GLX on the GLS platform in a one-to-one with Colony tokens. So this is like that's for GLX, but then there's later going to be SPS opportunities. I thought you were going to receive. I thought it was going to be like a fork. I thought it was going to be like essentially a fork somehow of both. But I see now that's
No,
silly. It's
no.
of your GLX stake.
So yeah, so if you have GLX above 10,000 GLX staked,
Mm-hmm.
or if you have 10,000 in a liquidity pool,
Yeah.
you will get the match.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, where the SPS comes in is if you scroll down a little bit, you get an airdrop for your
Yeah.
SPS, right? So
The airdrop will last 5 years for the players who have SPS or GLX. So point
so if you have both, you're double dipping.
point one, you get you got GLX, and it's staked. It's going to produce a fork token, which will lead to the colony. So you get that. Secondly, you got SPS. You're getting that. Now, is this also? Are you also getting like a staked creation from your GLX, or is GLX is like an airdrop from the fork, and then, or sorry, there's the fork doubling essentially one-to-one for your GLX into colony,
Mhm.
and then it's just an airdrop for your SPS. I think is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. Yeah.
but then what's interesting?
You're not getting a match for your SPS. You're just getting the airdrop,
Gotcha. And then
but over 5 years. So
yeah, and so interesting to see what happened to GLX price point following some of this news. Also, the GLUSD. I don't know where it's at right now. I want to look. G.
well, that's a dollar token, so
I know,
it's
but
it's
sometimes
massive.
sometimes dollar tokens don't sit at the dollar. Like, okay, so
Yeah, I know.
has it been? Like, it looks like it was like selling for around 2 Hive in November. So that's about 62 cents maybe. And then if we scroll over here into January, we're getting closer to three, 2.5, three. So this is obviously when the news broke, I guess, probably. Look at that
Yeah,
bar. We went
yeah.
all the way up here, which is the high was six Hive, which is that's crazy. So six Hive, $1.80 per dollar.
Yeah.
And now we've held a little bit more close to a dollar now ever since that news. But this is interesting to me. What's the daily volume? 1,300 daily volume on GLUSD. This is interesting because from, if you're being airdropped script for holding GLUSD, and if script holds a dollar value, and if
Mhm.
GLUSD holds a dollar value, you're like minting a dollar by holding a dollar. Um,
Yeah.
so so that's obviously exciting. I mean, that's theoretically an opportunity for a doubling of your value. But I would
It's a
huge caution though. I just want to say before I let you go, huge caution is when the airdrop happens, I would expect GLUSD to plunge because some
yeah.
people are holding it specifically for the airdrop or for the fork, and then
Yep.
they'll sell right away, which you could lose a massive amount of money in that decline. Did you want to say something there?
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say I was talking with I was on Tails live stream earlier, and that was one point we talked about,
Yeah.
that he saw that as a problem, the match for the script to GLUSD, because um, I think the major point was your point you just said was that once the fork happens, they get the match, they sell off, it plummets, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know. I try to stay away from crypto discussions in my
Yeah.
videos because I'm not a mathematician.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that do the math a lot better than I do, and whenever I do math, I'm just doing it to kind of extrapolate with costs that I've encountered, such as costs for lands and stuff like that, just to give people an idea. But I'm by far and large not a money man.
I like both sides, and I definitely think that if we can control our if we can think through some of this stuff, it starts opening other doors within the context of the actual game. Even though this is the tokenomics, this is like a conversation around like crypto. But if like you can start to think through like one thing that shout out to Gathering, one of the things he does is when SPS is up 10%, he buys,
Yeah.
or he sells
His power
5%.
of 10%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. And it's like it's this logical plan that he's attempted to
Yeah.
think through, and then just the execution of that is this way that he's, striving to grow what he's already doing here in a
Yep.
no and I think, sometimes I see in my comment section people, they're like, just do more rank reward videos, and I go, look, I love that too, but just I think you're missing something sometimes when if there's if there's a pushing away of some of this. I wouldn't recommend what I just said with the GLUSD, but it's worth thinking about because I know for a fact people are doing that. That's why this went boom. That's why there's this crazy candle, because they were like, hey, wait a second, you're telling me I can get a dollar coin script while holding a dollar coin GLUSD, and that's why that one candle just went bananas, and they paid $2 to get it. That's the nuts thing. Um, but even the stability in here, if you could pick up, here's the problem. There's two problems. One is what I already said, which is that the GLUSD will plummet after the utility of the script is gone, meaning once that airdrop happens, which I think is at the end of February. So
Yeah.
now how much will it plummet? I mean, look at this traditional value is in somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 cents. So I mean, right there, you have to assume I would think it's gonna fall at least that much into that 60-cent
Yeah.
range. And then I would say the other thing to think about is if there's only $1,300 worth of daily volume, if you went in and bought even $100 worth of GLUSD in order to try this, actually a meaningful amount of volume on this token. So I'm trying to speak out of a place of discouragement to anybody who would be thinking about this. It's like it's a play. It's a super risky play. There's not enough volume. The token is too volatile. I don't personally believe in GLX at all. I think the game looked terrible. And so I would recommend, if anything, and I bought 1,000 GLX tokens because I want those extra 1,000 colony tokens. And that's the play I'm making.
What GLX do you hold?
30, maybe 40,000, 38,000,
Okay,
something like that.
good. You're over what you need. It was unclear with some people that you need to at least have 10,000 to
Mm-hmm.
get the match. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I
and
got,
I did, and I went in and I bought a few more thousand as well, because I was in the position where I was at like eight, six, seven, 8,000, something like that. I needed to kick myself over the 10,000 limit. So I went in and bought like, I don't know, 4,000 or something like that. And I ran into the situation where I tried to do the swap on Hive Engine and it failed. And so there was like, I don't know, 50, $60 floating around in the ether for a couple of days until
Oh,
their support got it back for me.
oh wow.
So, well, that goes back to your point of lack of liquidity on the market. If
Yeah,
you try to do a trade,
yeah,
which is in essence, a swap is an automatic trade,
yeah.
and that liquidity is not there, it's going to fail. In fact, I did a short video that tells people what to do if you have a swap fail on Hive Engine.
Cool. Yeah,
So,
see, same thing. Look at this chart, like, relatively
yep,
stable in here. The people who believe in it, they're holding it. And then some news about, hey, airdrops and forks, boom,
yep.
and
That's exactly because I was in on that.
yeah.
That's exactly when that happened.
Yeah, and the daily volume in here is only $700, which is even smaller than GLUSD. But yeah, I mean, the short answer to the question originally posed from Paul, how are you both looking at the Colony fork and airdrop? I think we're both agreeing like it's going to be a massive deal, and it's at minimum, it's a deeply exciting opportunity. Is it going to come off shining and be everything they want it to be? We don't really know, but I mean, I can't help but be excited. I think for all the reasons, the description you gave of what that might mean as a platform as a service. And Paul said it here too. We want to become the Steam of Web3 with Arcade Colony.
Yep.
And that's it, man. If that becomes even partially realized, like, I mean, wow, of course that's exciting. Yes, please. I want Colony tokens. Um, and
And remember, the Colony token is going to be a cross-platform, okay? It's not just going to be moon carts. Whenever they onboard the next game, the next game, the next game, all of the games are going to be based around Colony. So if you've got Colony build up and you're earning Colony off of an airdrop, then after they get more games, say for instance, moon carts isn't your thing, right? The next game might be your thing, right? So
yeah. Yeah, and then the capacity to earn having that Colony token like inside the games, whether it's Mooncart and then on to the next thing. You're right. It's this snowball effect, essentially, because it's not just this
well,
one space; it's potentially others.
I mean, I think this takes the example of Hive to the ultimate because it's kind of like Hive, okay?
Yep.
From the aspect that one of the things that I like and a lot of other people like about playing Hive-based games, and we play a number of them on a daily basis, is that, say, for instance, I have some SBS in Splinterlands, or I have something in Golem Overlord, and I need something over here in this other game. I
Yep.
can take it to Hive, sell it, trade it, and put it in the other. It'll be very similar to that, except for there'll be no jumping through hoops to get to Hive Engine and everything. It'll just be you have Colony and you can use it in 15, 20 different games. So,
Yeah. Paul said, "I'm going to try to get some free Mooncart packs. I have a plan to do just that. What do you mean by free? Oh, I get you, because you want to take advantage of the airdrops and then probably put that to work in acquiring moon packs. I don't know. Probably they'll sell in Colony and GLUSD, I would think, or I mean script. So if you're currently holding those GLX tokens, you would get tokens that could translate into Mooncart packs, I would think."
in the game, which is the alpha client or whatever that we're playing now, they're posted at 200 Colony. Does that mean that's going to be the price when it goes live? Who knows?
Mm,
But knowing Aggie, there'll be some deals and things of that nature. So.
yeah. Oh, and he says, "I'm going to roll the dice and try it." He must mean, yeah, he's trying the GLUSD thing, I bet. Yeah, I mean, some people will win and some people will get hosed on stuff like that. Moving, I for one prefer if I can see things that others don't see and then try it. But I would argue that that is like everyone's on board with that. So it's like if that's what we're doing, if you're backing your bags in those respects, you can't delay when that airdrop goes. You need to sell. Like, I mean, you need to get rid of him as soon as you know that the airdrop is done. You need to get rid of him because there absolutely is going to be a drop off in GLUSD. Like
Well, we know how the peaks go. As soon as it goes live, peaks out, falls down.
Yep.
So.
Yep. We have already been going for about an hour and 15 here. I've got another 45 if you got time, Dragon. How do you feel about,
Sound
is that okay?
I'm still ready.
Okay.
Still got plenty of air left in my lungs to talk.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I wanted to talk more about that we pulled away for the colony topic, I think, was even just the rebellion cards. And I heard you talk about
Mm-hmm.
how I know you're not a huge rebellion guy yet, but I do know that you've
Yeah.
been trying to get those summoners when you can. And I also know that you bought yourself one mage wagon to try and just
Mm-hmm.
double dip on your
Yeah.
rebellion cards. I wonder, and you said you've got 20 different angles. Right now you're focusing on land. Are there certain rebellion cards that you are hoping for, or that you're aiming at, or you're longing for? Or are you just
Okay.
closing your ears to it right now?
So here's the thing. When I first started playing Splinterlands, I had to come up with a plan on how I was going to build out my deck. And I still think this ultimately holds true. Your whole deck starts with your summoners. Okay.
Yep.
You've got to start with your summoners and you've got to get them to the appropriate level. Okay. So going into Rebellion, I saw the prices involved and all the huge price it would cost to go in and get enough mage wagons or enough staked out to get a guaranteed drop.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at the price and of what the card might go for when it goes live if I wanted to buy singles on the market, right? And to me, I wanted to step back and take a logical approach. And my logical approach was, well, what are the first characters or first cards I'm going to buy? The first cards I'm going to buy are summoners, okay? And they're going to be dual purpose, okay? First of all, they're going to be level appropriate for gold level, which is what I play in, and they're going to be staked on my mage wagon. So that's what I did. I got a mage wagon, and I started with actually the rare summoners because they're actually cheaper to get to level
Yes.
6 for gold
Yep.
than the commons are to get to level 8.
Yep.
So yeah, I've got Nomos and I've got the next guy above him, in death. So
Yeah, like Nomos right now, max level, $60 to get 115 copies. I just did the math on the two cheapest
mhm,
commons. This one was 120, I think, if I recall correctly, and this was 100.
yeah,
So Brewmaster,
yeah,
even though it's the slightly more per BCX, it actually must have more copies at a lower price. So this is cheaper if you want to
yeah.
max. You know what I'm noticing, and this is a bit of a tangent. So let's just see where this conversation goes. But I'm seeing that these two are the cheapest, and I'm wondering if that speaks about the fire splinter in a certain way, because like the life splinter is life water Prunda is doing great over here, like almost 50% more expensive per BCX. And then I don't know. Maybe it's the blue white. I guess I'm trying to figure out why is Death Fire so cheap? Why is
Well,
Fire Earth so cheap?
I think it speaks to, and once again, the old time Magic the Gathering player comes out in me. It speaks to the interplay between the splinters, right?
Mm,
So I think the ones that are more expensive are going to be the two combinations of splinters that work better together and feature a more powerful deck, or they work better together.
yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. But I also, part of me says, do we even know what we're talking about? And I don't mean you and me. I mean like the community of players. Like, okay, so we already know we talked about how little SPS earnings there are in Wild. And we talked about how many SPS are being earned in Modern, specifically in Gold. Like, I mean, Aftersound today showing a video 8, 9, 10 SPS per win in Gold. You saying half of an SPS per win. So that tells me something about there's a far greater attention being there's a lot of the accounts are being botted in Wild. And
Yeah.
like, look, no judgment there. I'm just saying that's happening. And so what I'm actually wondering out loud is, do we as human active players truly know, you know, does this deserve its low price point? Does this deserve its low price point? And actually, to be fair, it's not even that low. Like we said, 100 bucks for Brewmaster, 112 or 20 for Dole 4. The cheapest one was Nomos with 60. But okay, let's focus on Nomos then. It's 60 bucks for a rare tactic summoner. Are we sleeping on these cards? I kind of think the long and short of it is, to me, I actually believe our community doesn't really know how to use these yet in the best possible ways. I think we
sure.
are still learning that, and until we start to see somebody using Nomos in a really cool, creative way, and it wins, a disproportionate number of times, the community won't adopt it. And until that happens, these prices stay low. Now, I can't tell you that I know a way to win with them, so I'm not saying go buy them. I'm just saying I don't think we've had enough time with them. What do you think about that?
Because first of all, we haven't had them for a whole long time, and I think there's a lot of other things that go into this as well. Certain of them probably have a lot more available, been pulled out of packs. Maybe that affects the prices. We all know that if in the meta game somebody comes up with a couple good, really cool combinations, then those cards take off. If you feature a card or Bulldog features a card, it takes off and sells a bunch. But I'll flash back to Chaos Legion, and after Chaos Legion had just come out, a month or two out, and yeah, I remember paying $25 for the Red Summoner, for the Fire Summoner,
Okay.
which I thought had great stats, and she does, but down the road, it didn't play out, and she ended up being not as great a summoner as Kelia, who at the time was cheaper than she was.
Mm.
Okay, Tarsa, yeah. So things change, and as you use them more, the human brain comes up with different plans. You play a lot of games, and suddenly you find a good combination. You start using that, and you tell your subscribers about it, and then it takes off, right? And then more people learn about it, obviously. So
Yeah. Yeah. And, and I shouldn't make it sound like I don't have an imagination about how Nomos or these other ones will start to shine. But I do think these multi-splinter summoners are actually really radically different than anything we've seen. And
I agree.
I think it's actually the ripple effect for what that'll mean for the game isn't properly understood. And I think we are currently sleeping on them. Now, I'm not going to rush out and buy them. They are lower on my list of Rebellion because I find certain other Rebellion cards more desirable. Maybe we could talk about some of the legendaries or whatever, in a moment. But I would say, like, just imagine, I never played Magic the Gathering, but I would think this would really apply to any game where this is possible, where there's multi-splinters. The idea that you could grab all greens and all reds and find and just dream, like, just as creative as you can be within that. And there's so many synergies. It's already hard enough to build a thoughtful, well-designed team when you get the full fire team, the full earth team, the full death team, especially in wild where there's going to be a lot of choices. I would say there is a ton of options that happen that I haven't even looked at because I don't have this card.
Oh yeah.
But I'm saying, like, I think this is going to be, these are long-term game changers, but I think right now they're being ignored a little bit. And maybe that's because some of the more exciting bells and whistles are over here with the legendaries. Like, some of these cards have really already shot up in value. Rune Seer, was a few dollars. I think it might have been $7 at first. Baradalin, I was buying this around $7-8. Townsend, I think I was buying around $9. There's no more Nalaras none on the market right now. None. This card, it's funny because, like, just today I saw Silence cover this card, and he was like, "This card's way better than you think," and sure enough, somebody came on here and bought them all. So,
well, back on the common summoners just for a minute. I completely agree. That's a full idea. Don't get me wrong. Straight from Magic the Gathering with dual lands. Okay, and after a certain point in time, after Revise, they became nerfed, so you have other, the whole idea is being able to play two different colors of mana, right?
Mm-hmm.
So same idea here. I agree. I love them from that perspective, and I do want to get a set of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But going into the mage wagons, I was looking at the most cost-effective way
Yeah.
to get some summoners and get my wagon up and producing something, right? So
From an art perspective, which one strikes you as being really attractive? Like, are these appealing to you visually?
not really. I like the Prunda Undervesh.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to light some fires, and I love Nate, and I love the crew, and I think they do a great job. But I like the older style better, older
Okay.
artwork better.
Interesting. I haven't heard of.
One of my main things about collecting, and I'm a big regular physical collectible cards guy as well, is I like to see art styles where you can decidedly tell who the artist is. And
Mm,
I'm sure if you knew the people on the team and you worked with them on a daily basis, you could tell who did what. But it just seemed, I don't want to step on toes, but it seems very homogenized.
mm.
But I do, from the business side of things, I do understand why they did it, right? It's not that I'm not blind to that.
Yeah.
But my opinion is I like the older styles.
I really like this turtle. I think it's got amazing artwork. I love the. I'm gonna zoom in a little. Boom, boom. Yeah, it's he looks like he's got like I see his armored shell. He's got some sort of mage wand. It looks like he's conjuring something. He looks
Yeah.
fierce. I love it. And I love the green and the yellow together. Yeah, interesting. Um, okay, so you're interested in this stuff in the rebellion. You aren't exactly chasing it down. You're trying to be patient. Is there
Correct.
is there one card you're seeing when you do play, or that you are saying to yourself, you know what, like that's on the list. Like I gotta, maybe not today, but like it's got to be on the list. It's on the to get list. Are there any that are there for you, or that you are planning for?
Well, you're really looking at them right there. A Kane, Darg, Nalra. Those are the big ones.
Yeah, yeah. Darg to me strikes me as like I bought a max copy. The price has been going up since. I'm glad I did. I think it's really, really worth it. I think that weapons trainer obviously has become a big part of the meta right now. But I mean, at every level, like that's one of the ways to like decide if a card's worth the price point. It's not just it doesn't just appeal. If it only appeals to a diamond champion level team, then that's cool for me. But you probably are going to expect a lower price point for that card because it's not appealing to a certain audience in this game. But
Yeah.
with
And
Darg,
that's I just wanted to butt in there. That's going on to a point where I was discussing with Tails earlier on
mm,
his live stream, is that there's this whole sectionality of you playing or he's playing at champ, and that's something I had never really looked at a lot. I'm used to playing in silver and gold, and the cards that are good buys for playing in silver and gold aren't necessarily the same cards that are in the meta, as you go up into Diamond and Champion. So
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but the sexiest cars are definitely those ones that have appeal at every level. And to me,
yeah,
Darg,
yeah,
Darg does with the weapon trainer at level 1. Everybody could stand to benefit. That's a huge weapon trainer at level 1. Um, and
yeah.
then and then to get into silver and to give yourself that triage, I think that's an amazing card. Like that's a big upgrade with the one more hit point. And then into level 3, you get the dodge. Okay, at gold, I feel might if I was running, but there's 2 extra hit points. I almost said I wouldn't get it because the dodge alone is maybe not enough, but the 2 extra hit points is big.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so I'm tracking and I'm saying if I played here, I'd want it. If I play here, I see myself wanting it. If I play here, I'm gonna want it. Um, and definitely a champion, you get that extra diamond champion, you get that extra damage output, which is actually 3 damage output. Because you're gonna put 2 weapon train non-attackers beside it. So great card.
Okay, but for the sake of argument, what's the cost of a Darg at gold level, at level 3?
Yeah, good question. So 6 times 20. Well, let's go, I guess, bulk buy 6. Not cheap. $141 to get that gold.
Okay. So a Darg or an epic plot of land? You tell me.
Yeah. And also too, like another way, even if you really, no, I want the Darg, okay, but then if you're playing a gold, you can still use a silver Darg and not be penalized, and maybe that's enough. You go 3 times 20 is 75, so 70 instead of 140 or whatever it was, and maybe, and then you have, you know, but you're right, you got to make those calls because $70 is still a lot of money, man. $70. We were looking at the summoners a minute ago. And you know, this one is $60. This one was $75. That's 2 summoners right there. This one was, I think, $75, $80, something like that. There's some good summoners that you can get at the highest levels for that price point. And we're talking about a Darg that's at level 2. So do you want a max summoner or do you want a Darg that's at level 2? Sometimes those monsters are worth it though. Like I really, well, maybe I'll pull up some of the data and we can look at it together. But I find Rush Townsend super powerful, and I know it's the only thing it's got going against it is that it's archery, and you can't always use that in the 9 mana for an archery isn't great when you're talking about bronze, because bronze is gonna not always have 20, 30, 40 mana to work with. So then again, like I just said for Darg, well, I could justify Darg at bronze, silver, gold, and champ. Townsend, I probably am saying I want this in silver plus. And that changes the dynamics on what the price should be, because it changes the audience on who might want it. The legendaries, I think people are giving the right attention to them. Like I don't think people, I don't really think that there's any card in here. Like if this is the cheapest one, and I don't think it's a bad card, but I don't think there's a card amongst the legendary rebellions where people are like sleeping on it. I wouldn't say, you know.
Well, that's legendary. That's why they're legendary, right?
Exactly.
I think in most cases, most legendaries are going to be really good cards. Some of them are specific use case. I think the real trick to this game is picking out the sleeper cards that are common or rare. I think that's the trick.
Yes.
You find a common or rare that has a good interaction between each other, and then max it out and get a good deal on it and get a lot of play out of it for your dollar.
Right? That's right. You're totally right. And some cards come to my mind in Splinterlands, but it actually makes me think about Immortal Creed, because, you know, I did that video recently going a bit deeper into it, and you left a comment. I actually want to hear your thoughts on, like, because I'm, you know, in Splinterlands, I see commons and rares that are amazing. That, like, let's quickly look at. I know Chaos Legion super well, so let's look at Chaos Legion. These are the commons from Chaos Legion. Venari Scout's an amazing card. Like the opportunity does good amount of damage. Setherpod.
Flying Squid.
Yep, Flying Squid's great. Setherpod's got a good amount of resiliency. Shabby, amazing.
Supply Runner.
Yeah, Supply Runner is like almost necessary, I think. Deep Lurker, amazing.
Yeah.
So these
Chaos Agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are the commons, and we just gave them quite a high praise as we ripped through them. And you're right with the rares too, the same. And this is Chaos, so everybody knows it, and they're cheap, so everybody's got them. But, you know, with Rift Watchers and with Rebellion, not everybody has them. These are the commons in those 2 editions, and there's some real game changer cards in here. I really love Arachne Thug. This card looks cool with the double strike. I rented it for a while, and I like it. I don't have a max copy. I think it might be worth looking into, especially if you have the water summoner that adds archery damage, because you get Nimble Duke gives you, you know, 2 archery times double strike plus 2 more, because you can tactics buff him. So Nimble Duke, somebody I would be following. The fighter I like. I lose to Endless Ape sometimes. This thing just gets crazy hit points with the 12.
But once again, we're talking about the difference between different levels of play here. And why I say that is because at gold and silver, especially silver,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be very hesitant to buy cards that are 7 and 8 mana because,
Mm.
and even in gold, I see a lot of play in that 20, 30, 40 range, and not a whole lot of play at 45 and 50, where I would argue that whenever you start talking about 7, 8 mana cards, you're talking at least 40 mana, hands, right?
Love it.
Everything can go different ways, right? But
Great point.
generally speaking, and so when you start talking about bronze, I think by investing in 7 and 8 mana cards, if you like the cards, that's cool, but they're not going to see a whole lot of play, right?
Great point.
As you go up in levels, obviously in Diamond and Champ, you're going to see a lot of those higher mana matches, but in Gold and below, so
Mm-hmm.
that's my point.
So good. And I've tweaked based on that. I tweaked the filter so that we are looking now at less than 6 mana. So these are the
Mhm.
commons from Rift Watchers and Rebellion, and it's monsters only. And yeah, there's some keepers in here, man. They like this is another one, Blackmoor Trickster, 3 mana, and look
Mhm.
how many hit points it gets at the higher levels. Now you just said what about lower levels? Okay, even at silver, you're getting into 6 hit points, which is solid for a 3 mana close range archer, by the way.
Yeah.
And then if you're getting into gold, you're going to add the snare. You're going to get up to 7, 8 hit points. It's a big tank. Like I'm going to call it an off tank because it's it doesn't have
Yeah.
any shield or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a strong little archery card.
Yeah.
This one I love, Chaos Rearguard. I do consider this a tank, almost a main tank with the 9 hit points
Mhm.
and the 6 armor. It also has shield. So I really like this one, and it's only 4 mana. But you're definitely right. It's the finding the path within the the legendaries and the epics are kind of the the ace pitcher or the home run star. It's like them. They're household names. The commons and the rares are like if you know them, if you truly know how to synergize the commons and the rares, you're more of an advanced player. You really know your deck. And the path through those cards, I think you're right. There's that's how you set apart a good player from a great player. The ones who find those not obvious cards, hey? With that, I do want to probe a little bit on Immortal Creed within that context too.
Now let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So within I've been doing almost every day. I've been almost getting my 10 wins. I missed a couple where I got like 7 wins or whatever. But I'm playing every day. I got my 10 wins today. I'm up to silver 8. So first question, I go to silver 10 and then I win and I get into gold, correct?
Correct. After you pass through silver 10, it gives you the option to go in gold. You don't have to.
Yeah.
And then if you do go in gold and you start losing a bunch, you have the option to level down again if you want.
Okay. And then at the end of the seasons, does it push me down or you just stay where you're at?
You stay where you're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
But to carry that's helpful, thank you. But to carry forward the conversation even around commons or rares, as I was looking at my inventory and just being like, sometimes I play a good amount of commons and rares. And they are very successful. Like this bronze axe, I play this bronze axe almost every single match where I use melee. This iron sword, same thing. Now they're level 3. And so, versus some of these,
which is silver level.
Yeah. And this one's level 2, which I played it all the time at bronze, but now it doesn't really cut the mustard anymore.
Yeah.
And so, but one of the wonders that I think, because I think you're right, recognizing where the real winners are in the commons and the rares is going to set you apart, because sometimes they're easier to get, they're cheaper to get. I know there's no card market in this game yet, but there will be. And then, I'm going to want to know how to start shopping for like the best value, not just the best cards. Um, and so I wonder, you dropped in the comment section, you said that some of my questions were answerable through the online documentation. Is there a way to see
Right.
what the bronze axe will do at the highest levels?
Sure. Go back and go over to library. Now go to equipment and find the bronze axe and click on it.
Oh, okay. So hang on, this is level
That's the top level. Yeah,
with the
level 10.
star. Gotcha. So level
Mhm.
1 over here is only doing 11 damage, 18, 24. That's where I got it at. We go up to 30, it's 36. Okay. I mean, that seems like a massive number. So next level, we're going to 30. So that's interesting. Okay, that's really clear. But man, I do wish that was like I shouldn't have to come into a separate library to see that information.
I agree. It would be nice. It would be nice if that information was available on a pass over, a mouse over,
Yeah,
especially when you're on the combination screen in the
yeah,
Forge.
yeah, yeah. But because man, but here's a cool thing though. When it's more difficult to jump through a hoop to min max your deck, then you will set yourself apart when you do that. So what I mean is like if it's really easy to see how many more cards do I need to level up my bronze axe, how much more damage is it going to get me? Is that going to be worth it compared to, for instance, maybe buying more packs, getting another scourge, seeing that upgraded, or when the marketplace happens? When it's easy to see how best to upgrade, then there's less advantage to the person who can see those results anyways. Um, so interesting to think through because it makes me want to like, maybe I might break out an Excel spreadsheet when the time comes, and especially when they launch the market. When did they say? Did they tell you when they're doing that, or not really?
No, all I got was a tease from him, and he said soon.
Mhm.
That's
Okay.
like trademarked by the Splinterlands team, right?
Yeah,
Soon.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, this game's got my attention. I'm having fun with it, and I do think there needs to be. hmm, the one superficial critique that I feel from a gameplay mechanic that I don't know how you would change it now, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Is when we fight, you know, you in Silver of Splinterlands, you can have fun with some bronze cards. I
Yeah,
would argue you don't really have that freedom in Immortal Creed. Do you think I'm wrong?
correct. Um, as far as the Immortals, yes.
Okay.
Now it's very clear. There's a hard cutoff. There's no every time you go up, you jump a huge amount of hit points on your immortal. There's no way to bypass that. In other words, you're not going to get away with a level 2 summoner in silver, right?
No.
Now, some of the weapons, especially the better weapons, you can get away with using level 2 once in a while, but you're going to pretty much want all the weapons you're using or the tools, whether it's a shield or whatever, to be proper level to where you're playing at.
Hmm.
I had mentioned that in the video I had done. That's one of the main things that's different about Splinterlands. In Splinterlands, you can get away with a summoner that's a little bit lower, right? But not in this game.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I don't think that's like a deal breaker in terms of joy from the game or reason why I wouldn't play it. Um, but I think it would be something that I would want the developers to think through as they grow the card selection because they're going to keep growing. They're going to keep growing
Yeah.
what they do within the game, the immortals that they release, and maybe it'll begin a process where there'll be this slow, gradual, not nerfing, but like we've seen in Splinterlands, there's a possibility for introducing other cards that perhaps start to fill and change that dynamic a little. Maybe there's
Yeah.
somebody who has
Yeah.
250 hit points, but they have
Yeah.
shield or something like that. Or do you know what I mean? And so I think that is something for them to think through, and maybe they'll tweak that. But it's not a
Well,
deal.
keep in mind, this is a very new game. This
Hmm.
only went live in mid-December.
Yeah.
Okay. So imagine being in Splinterlands a month after it went live.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
So what they have is here is a base, and there's, as far as I know, there's just two guys, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very small team, right? So they've got a base for a game, and I think the game is they put out something good, and it's a good base, and
Yeah.
that's what it is.
It
And
really
they're
is.
still working on it, right? Is it perfect? No, but they've got it up and running. Everybody seems that is playing it seems to like it. You can draw, like you said, as you go up, you can draw packs off of on a regular basis, as well as get end of season prizes as well. So it's been really fun, you know.
Ooh, yes, the
And
end of season prizes. Am I
mhm.
was I right or wrong about how that is calculated? Like if you're on the leaderboard, are you getting part of the value?
No,
Oh,
no, and that's one of the big points, because right now the leaderboard is just superficial. It's
okay.
just for bragging rights,
Okay.
okay? Because the point to their leaderboard, the way it works now, is basically the person that has the most time during the day to spam games is going to get on the leaderboard
Yeah.
board, right?
Yeah.
And that's not what they want. So
Mm,
they do have something in the works, but it's down the road, and they didn't give me any specifics.
okay.
But they didn't want it to be decision or game breaking. They didn't want to ruin the game by just having somebody that can sit there 24 hours a day and
Yes.
build a bot or whatever just to spam it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so now, as far as end of season, there's this moderately for a person that's into math, it's not complicated, but it's a little bit more complicated as far as the end of season. Okay, so here is the basic idea. As you go up in level, you can play your 10 games and earn off of 10 matches per day.
Mm,
But as you go up in levels, you earn more points for each of those matches. Okay. And you accrue those points. And if you go to the season screen, you'll see how many points you've accrued. And then there is a pool, right? And the pool is it's got a portion of what people have paid in as far as buying packs over the season, and then it's got another percentage of something else. And
mm,
there's this pool, and it's all viewable on the season tab, right? Go to the season tab.
yep.
So you can see the reward pool is currently sitting at 7,400,
Yep.
right? 7,401. And
Yep.
currently you have 135 season shares,
Mm,
reward shares. And as you get more reward shares, you get more of that pool. And then at the end of the season, then that pool is divided by, there's a math calculation. And basically, the more shares, the more that pool you get. But there's another variable. You can also get a pack. But if you get a pack, then that portion of the token is taken out of your winnings. So if you win 250 tokens, then and you get a pack drawn, then you only get 50 tokens, but you get that pack.
I see.
And you can also get singles as well. So
Oh, cool. Really cool. I didn't know any of that. That's great. Yeah, I'm interested. I'm into it. I'm gonna be keeping acquiring. I was actually while we were hanging out, I see that my daily play rounded over. And so I'm now earning my new wins. I'm on a 6 win
yeah,
streak.
that flips over at 8 Eastern time.
Mm,
So whatever it works out on your end.
yeah, 5. I'm at silver 10 right now. So if I win this one, I think I will ascend. Or can ascend, and I think I would choose to ascend, but I actually don't know that I would be ready for gold. I don't know. I might need. I might be wise to hold off, but at the same time, I don't think I'm gonna hold off because I want to see what gold's about, and then I can, like you
Well,
say.
I mean, there's no problem with trying it out, because you can always descend. You can always click the button to go back down.
That's right. Um. I wanted to.
And the other thing I'll mention is that gold cards have a huge play in this
Yes.
in this game. Okay,
Yes.
so at each level you have a minimum that you can win per hand that
Hmm.
you win, but the gold is going to give you the more gold cards you stick in there is going to represent 50% extra. So you can go. I'm bringing up the screen, which is in the documentation. You can go from, like in silver, you can go from like a base level of 15 up to like 21 or something like that. But
Mhm.
the only way you're going to get that 21 is if you have a few gold cards in your hand. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I've seen that too, and it moves the needle in a meaningful way with the amount of valor income you make. This is
mhm.
going to be down to the wire. He's got magic damage. He's got using his steel shield to block me out, but I'm getting this. I'm on the big buff here for 39%. No, he's going to kill me. No, he didn't kill me there. I hit that one. Oh, and then he got me there.
Yep. You know what I found out, and there's a lot of interplay between the different types of matches and what you actually choose.
Hmm.
And that goes back to, your question earlier to me was, what should you burn? You asked me like last week, what should I burn?
Yeah.
And it's hard to say. As far as weapons, it's a fine question. I can answer that. But as far as the immortals, you basically want them all.
Hmm.
So it's tough to say. But there are in the equipment, especially in the commons, there are duplicates of they're different weapons, but they have the same stats. So what I do is I take the ones that, and at one point you pick one and stick with that, and then burn the other one that has duplicate stats, and just go with it.
This guy I don't really care for. The plus accuracy. So I'm inclined to go ahead and say goodbye to him. Now he's a
I
level.
think that the I think that the plus accuracy, both on the melee and both on the range, are not as good as the plus damage.
Yes, agreed.
And also, another point I'd like to make is I think a lot of this really comes down to speed, because uh, I would be apt to say that range bows in this game are a little bit overpowered. Other
Yes.
than Cataclysm, that big Cataclysm hammer. Oh man, I can't tell you how many times I can never beat it, but I cannot tell you how many times that it comes down to the wire, and it's just a faster weapon, right? And
Yeah.
the faster weapon is always going to be a bow.
Yeah, exactly. And the only the I guess the only pushback I would give you on that is uh the magic always hits. And so man, like you said this in one of your videos, even though it is an 80% hit probability with your regular melee or archery, it does seem like you miss a lot. And
Yeah.
so that magic opportunity to just never miss is pretty clutch.
I agree. My strong hand is magic, really, but I lose a lot to range.
Burn failed.
Hmm.
I wonder if that's like a card they gave me or
If it's grayed out, you can't burn it. That's a
yeah,
ghost card.
yeah, great. It was grayed out. That's why. Um, yeah, I just deleted all my Volkners because I just don't like as cool. Yes, I don't want to miss, and theoretically, it's nice to have the 9% because you get 9% every round, and then you're hitting 100% of the time, like in a couple rounds. But in the
I think
meantime,
definitely shrapnel is better.
oh yeah, I win all the time. Shrapnel is my main winner, and then I rotate into Grot if it's an RNG, no RNG
Yeah,
meaning magic only.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I also use Warcaller. So these three I rotate between. And and then of course if there's a poison, you need to have
yeah,
the coup set to if it's a poison situation.
yeah.
These other ones are great too. Rothheart can be great when there's no magic. But having said that, my Rothheart is just a bit lower, so I rotate pretty much through these four, and it's generally speaking enough. I got a 56% win rate.
And I think a lot of it also depends upon what your weapon set is, because you're going to lean towards your strong weapon set,
That's
right?
right.
So,
That's right. If I go,
but going back to your one of your original points is there are several, and this is a relatively small set if you compare it to like Splinterlands or something. But there are a lot of the common cards that are really good. So
yeah, yeah. We've got about 6 minutes left. Anything that is on your mind with respect to Immortal Creed or outside of this space? Like I've seen you talk about decrops. I don't know anything about it. Maybe that's too big of a conversation to right at the end here. Um,
yeah.
Any I guess last minute things you want to get into before we I guess start even pointing towards the end and saying thank you to the
Well,
people?
as you know, I'm into a lot of things. In fact, I think I mentioned to you earlier, I think I'm almost at a critical overload of games,
Hmm.
and Tails just laid a new one on me this morning. But yeah, I'm into a lot of games, and just check out my channel, and you'll see, certain portions of the people that watch my channel are there for the Splinterlands. Some people are there for a Golem Overlord and so forth. So I just try to. I'm a guy that's not really deep on one game, but I like new stuff. I like keeping my eye on the horizon on because as we're going along, these Web3 games just keep getting better and better,
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. Where is your actual channel? Because you're not the only one with this word or phrase. What's your
Bronze Dragon Gaming.
okay? Um,
It's all one. Bronze Dragon's all one
okay,
word.
pull it up.
Oh, with a zero. The last O is a zero. Sorry.
Okay. Is Bronze
There you
Dragon
go.
like it? There we are. Is Bronze
Yeah.
Dragon a reference to something that's within the Magic the Gathering world? Or where does that name come from?
Uh, it's it's something that stuck with me through. It's really come from my roots in playing Dungeons and Dragons, really. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I had an affinity towards Bronze Dragon, which is a chromatic dragon. It's a good dragon, and down through the years, as I've run games, there's been things like the Bronze Dragon Inn and stuff like that. And whenever I'm also a home brewer, and I have my home brewery is called the Bronze Dragon Brewery. So, so
Cool.
it's just a name I've used over the years.
Love it.
So.
Is this surprising to you? You got 317 videos on your YouTube channel. Is that like that's a big number? Have you looked at that recently? Did you know that you almost have one for every day of a full year?
I didn't know it was that high, but I do know that I usually put out two or three a week,
Yeah.
so including, I always have my live stream on Saturday morning. I've been going for, I think it's more than a year with the every Saturday with the live stream. So
This is great viewership for your live. See, in 1 hour, 200 views. Like people, that's a good amount of viewership for like a nice long live, and you get into kind of a breadth of topics. I watch them as often as I can, and
yeah, we talk about mostly Splinterlands, but we talk about all other Hive games, and once in a while, something else is going on as far as gaming goes, but usually Hive gaming.
mhm. And you're almost there. We need 4 more subs. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're all dude. So close, eh? What do
Yeah,
you
it's
said you want to have some sort of celebration, eh?
yeah, I'm trying to think of something or other.
Yeah, it's fun.
Last weekend on my live stream, I'm like, oh, if I could only hit 500 by next live stream.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. And then when there's you know, I think right now we are still in a place where Splinterlands and can by extension blockchain based video gaming is exciting, but it's not realized. And it's like to me, those who are intentionally plugging away with the game and those who are intentionally plugging away with content creation around the game, I think it's an exciting coming months and maybe years because we've seen real growth in, like, if you look at the Twitter space, the YouTube space, Twitch, the content creators, there was almost none, and then there was this explosion of them, like in the when Chaos Legion was blowing up and coming on the scene, and then the bear market came and most of those people just like slowly disappeared. And then
Yeah.
in the last, I think, year, maybe year and a half, yourself included, there's been this resurgence and there's been this new blood and this like real, like new OGs coming in, which is kind of exciting, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if I didn't think it was exciting, I wouldn't be doing it.
That's right.
It takes a lot to get me excited, but I am enjoying it and, putting out content on my different take. It's not the same as your take. It's not the same as Bulldog's take. We all look at it differently, but like I say on my live stream, the more minds you have come together, putting their opinions out, or not just opinions, but your take on different things.
Yeah.
If you want to draw a good conclusion on something, you take as much information as you can and make your own decision, right? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was a pleasure having you on today. I would love to come hang out another time, maybe come to one of your, I can't really do Saturdays, but I'd love to come hang out sometime and do this more. Thank you so much
definitely.
for doing that today. And yeah,
Well,
guys, go Bronze Dragon, last O with a 0 if you haven't already.
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Have an awesome day. Hey.
You as well. Have a good one.
And Paul, thanks for hanging out. And Jim, you too. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome afternoon, evening, and see you again soon. Bye for now.
Thanks, Paul.